So one of the biggest things that I've struggled with for years is figuring out what my passion is, and probably more importantly, what path should I pick in life? Because there's a lot and you can choose from a lot of different things. And so this is something that I wrestled with a lot, and frankly, I've flip-flopped between a lot of different things. And so I'm making this video to basically for a younger version of myself. So if anyone is in this similar boat, hopefully this sheds a little bit of insight into that. But brief recap of at least where I've been. So I started off as a physical therapist. I did that for 5 years, and I was like, that's not for me. So then I figured out what is it that I want to do in life. So then I went and I worked on music production, and I worked on getting better at that for about a year and a half. And then I was like, maybe this isn't for me. So then I started thinking about other things that I could do. And I tried UX design, did that for about a year. Again, not for me. And now I'm sort of doing web design and YouTube. And so far, I've been able to stick with that. But out of doing all of these things and flip-flopping so many times, the thing that I've come to realize is that I've been fundamentally finding passion in the wrong way. And I was treating it like an intellectual pursuit. I was thinking about what is it that I like to do. I was thinking about things that I haven't even tried that I thought I might like to do. I was thinking about things that could sustain me financially. And so I was treating finding a passion like a strictly intellectual pursuit, just sort of like weighing all these options in my head. And they weren't really moving the needle that much because I kept flip-flopping between everything. And so the core question that sort of was running through my head when doing all these different paths is, will this be the right path for me to achieve my goals and sort of achieve financial freedom? That's sort of like my main goal that I'm after. And so the problem with asking that is, and that I've now realized, is that any one of the paths that I embarked on could be successful. I could have been successful with physical therapy, starting a practice. I could have been successful with music production. I could have been successful with UX design, and I can be successful with web design and YouTube. So I've sort of realized that it's not a matter of picking the right path. It's a matter of just choosing something and sticking with it. Because the thing that I've come to realize now that I'm doing web design and YouTube, particularly with web design, and I made another video about this, but I was reaching that point again where I was doubting whether or not I wanted to do it and whether or not I needed to pivot into something else. And I knew that like whatever I picked, it was going to, the same thing was going to happen. Like, it doesn't matter what I pick, the same doubt is going to creep into my head of, is this the right path for me? And so knowing that, I knew that I should try something different. If all these things that I did before didn't work, why is it that if I take the same actions that I did before, why should that yield a different result? It doesn't make any sense. It's ludicrous. And so I decided to adopt something else. And so the past couple of weeks, I've just decided to get back into web design. I sort of took a break from it and I got back into it, and I had to force myself to do it. And the thing about it is that the more that I do it, the more that I enjoy it. It's when I take a break from it, it's when I start getting into my head too much that I start to doubt it and I start to think about other things. But when I'm present and I'm working on web design or when I'm working on YouTube, I enjoy it. And I think that's the key takeaway that I've discovered, is that passion follows action. And so like I've become more passionate as I strive to get better with web design, as I try to work on my skills, as I work on projects. I notice that as I do that, my passion for it grows. And so whereas initially my thought was that I need to find passion, it's really I need to just pick something and work towards it and be consistent with it, and that passion will naturally develop. And I think it's easy to do that for a lot of things in the beginning. Like, I was passionate about all the things that I tried in the beginning. So all the things, the PT, the music production, UX, all that stuff, I was passionate about in the beginning. And the reason why I was able to be passionate is because you get a lot of, you learn so much in a short amount of time, and it feels like you're making a tremendous amount of progress in the beginning of learning anything. And so for the first 6 to 12 months, I had a lot of passion for those things because I was continuously getting better. It was fairly easy to get better because it was all new to me. And so all those beginner gains sort of like enabled this feedback loop of, oh, I'm getting better, I'm passionate about this, this is wonderful. But the thing that I've realized is that there will always come a time where there's going to be a dip. And there's going to be a dip when it comes to motivation, because there will come a time where it requires a lot more effort from me to get better at whatever skill I'm doing. And that initial joy and initial novelty of whatever it is that I'm learning has died. And so at that point, that's sort of like the critical juncture where I would start to doubt the path that I've taken. And that's very interesting because it has been a repeatable thing for every single thing that I have tried. Is I reach that dip and I question whether or not I can continue on with it. And I really think, call this a little woo-woo, but I think it's the universe's test on, do you actually want this? It is the universe asking me, how bad do you want this? And are you willing to push through and see it? Because not everyone can be successful. And I think this is the test to that. If you want to be successful in something, I think you kind of have to cross this barrier of this universal test of, can you push past the shit and just sort of keep pushing on even when there's not a lot of motivation to do so. And so that's what I've urged myself to do with web design the past couple weeks, because like I said, I sort of had that dip and I stopped working on it for probably 3 to 4 months. And so last week I challenged myself to push through it even though I didn't want to. I didn't want to. I even tricked myself into saying that, oh, I don't like web design. I don't like that anymore. And it's bullshit. It's just bullshit, because when I'm working on it and when I'm working on a project that I care about and that I actually want to do, for one, I enjoy it and I lose track of time. And that to me is the ultimate sign of enjoying something, is when you can do it and the next thing I know, holy shit, 4 hours has passed. Where did that time go? And that happens when I'm doing web design. And so I think that is really the key thing that I've discovered, is if I can like push past that resistance and just keep going, that passion will get fueled up again. And so really I think passion just equals consistent action. And like there's going to be times where taking action is going to be very difficult and everything in my body is going to be like, oh, this is not it. I don't want to do this. And I have to somehow muster up enough willpower to say, screw you, I'm going to do this anyway. And that's really hard to do. But it is rewarding to do that and to push past that, because that is where most people give up. And so if you're at a point to where you feel like you're lost in life, you don't know what path you should take, maybe you're like me and you've tried a lot of different things, I would really sit and think about, did you really give it a chance? And not only that, did you take enough action? because I would be willing to bet that for some of those paths that you embarked on, I would imagine that if you embraced the suck a little bit, that passion would grow again and you would start to like it. Now, the one caveat is that I don't think life paths are permanent. And so this may sound a little contradictory to like the entire thesis of this video, but hear me out. I'll explain. So like for physical therapy, for instance, that's a prime example. I gave that a fair shot. I did that for 5 years, and I tried all sorts of ways to do physical therapy. I tried different settings, different employers. I even tried to do it on my own, and it just wasn't for me. So like, I think the caveat is that if you try something for like 5 years and you just like intrinsically do not like it, then yeah, it's probably fair to pivot. And like, truthfully, that time can come way before 5 years. Like there's some things that I know I just do not like doing. For instance, can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I'm sure there are some things that I just, probably coding, like actual like back-end coding. I just know I would not like that. And I intrinsically know deep down in my heart, that is not something that I want to do. And so I think it's important to kind of be able to tell the difference between something that you intrinsically dislike and something that you're just kind of putting off, but you know you would like it if you just kept with it a little bit. And so knowing the difference between the two is, I think, important because, for example, with my UX design, yeah, I quit that early, but I knew intrinsically I didn't want to work for someone else. I didn't want to be a typical 9-to-5 employee. There's nothing wrong with that if you want to go that route. But for me, it just didn't sit with like the values that I want out of a career. And so, yes, I quit that, but I don't feel bad doing that because I knew intrinsically it just wasn't for me. Whereas with web design, I know I can do that on my own. YouTube, I know I can do that on my own. And so those things, even though sometimes they get tough and I don't want to do them, when I sit and think about it, or rather when I just do it, not think about it and just do it, I enjoy it. Versus if I took action on something like UX design or physical therapy, it just doesn't intrinsically feel good to me. It doesn't feel like the right move. And so I think just having that awareness of knowing what is it that you intrinsically dislike and what is it that you are just sort of putting off, but if you just kept stuck with it, that passion would start to grow. That I think is really important. So just some things to think about if you are kind of, feeling lost on finding your passion or whatever. I'm still kind of figuring it out, but I've definitely reached a lot of clarity on where I'm heading now. And again, I don't know if I'll do web design in 5 years, but I know that as I push through with it, even during the times where it's difficult, I enjoy it. And as long as that enjoyment is there as I'm doing it, then I think it's a pretty good sign that I should keep with it and go from there. So hopefully this was helpful in some capacity. Maybe not the most super structured video in the world. But again, I just wanted to make this video for a past version of myself. I just like to do these video journals about things that I'm working through. So hope you enjoyed. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.